Galactic
betrayed
Court
the
Kai
consortium,
Crystal Hall's
Admiral.
main
Your
Hazaran
execution
alien
is set for
representatives
dawn.
Cod
I
Thay.
regret nothing.
Par
Queen.
I par
The
curiosity.
future demands
Par whisper
sacrifice.
par speculation. Main ek human guard, back row main silently Cod a thaw. Armor polished, rifle ready, par bina voice you attention key. Har movement, har shift of air ka sense mere training C sharpen thaw. Main jananta thaw ki yahan galti ka koi scope nahai thaw. Ek wrong glance by galactic scandal trigger car sack to thaw, or fur, ek slow, deliberate step. The proud alien queen entered. Her robe glided across crystal floors like liquid light. Her presence dominated the room. Every head turned, every murmur stopped. Or tab her eyes scanned the hall or ruck gay, on me. Mere chest main ek sudden weight mesus hua. Heartbeat accelerate nahai hua, training, survival instinct, par andar high andar, ek small spark of awareness jag gaya. Court members shift hue whispers first start hui. Did she notice him? Ek diplomat whispered. Impossible a human guard, dus rabolis, main ni surf kata raha, no bow, no salute, surf presence. Or fur, subtle smile flickered her lips par. Itna unexpected tha ki hall ka air almost tangible lag raha tha. No one dared to move. Court observers had never seen a human face capture a queen's attention like this. She moved closer. Her steps echoed, but not like a normal person walking, more like the rhythm of inevitability itself. Flowing robes shimmered in the crystal light, her crown-like headpiece catching the ambient luminescence. I could feel the tension spike. Every whisper cut short, every representative's breath held. Her gaze did not falter, the silence became deafening, and then she stopped right in front of me, regal, silent, unpredictable. The court expected a bow, an explanation, a gesture of obedience. Instead, she spoke, soft yet heavy. Humans stepped forward. Time slowed, all heads turned. Shock, disbelief, curiosity, even fear, mixed emotions flashed across the faces of beings who had governed stars for centuries. I obeyed. Each step echoed in the hall, crystal floor amplifying my heartbeat. For the first time, I noticed how vast the chamber really was, ceilings stretching miles, light bending off reflective walls, and the quiet hum of alien energy coursing through the floor. And then the weight of their gazes hit me. Thousands of alien eyes, each calculating, each judging. I was alone. Yet somehow I was the center of attention. The queen's lips moved again, her voice calm, controlled, authoritative. You are no longer just a guard. A ripple ran through the court, gasps, murmurs, the kind of disbelief reserved for events that would be recorded in galactic history. I had no title, no claim, no political advantage. I was a human, one among billions, yet here I was, singled out by the proudest figure in the galaxy. Whispers grew, why him? Has the queen lost her mind? He's a human, an insignificant species, but I didn't move. I didn't react. My duty had always been clear, protect, observe, survive. But now something new stirred inside me, a strange mix of fear and purpose. The queen stepped closer. Her eyes softened slightly, though her aura remained imperious. She extended her hand, a subtle, almost imperceptible gesture. A challenge, a claim. The court froze again. No one moved, no one dared. And then she spoke, her tone now carrying weight across the chamber. Humans are not what you think. Stand with me, guard. I felt a surge of awareness. The room seemed to contract. Every being present was witnessing history unfold. A quiet human, handpicked by a legendary queen, changing the balance of perception in one silent motion. I obeyed her instruction, not by fear, not by protocol, but because in that moment, a simple truth was clear. Some responsibilities are chosen, not given. As I moved to stand beside her, I noticed subtle shifts among the court members. Some looked shocked, others impressed, a few calculating the political consequences. I had entered the chamber as a background observer. I would leave as a figure whose presence alone demanded acknowledgement. The queen's eyes briefly flickered to the ceiling, then back to me. Her voice, now commanding, echoed through the crystal hall. You carry more than weapons, human. You carry potential, proof that strength is not measured by force alone. The weight of her words settled on me. Hundreds of eyes, thousands of whispers, and the hum of centuries of political power all seemed to focus on this single moment. One alien delegate, tall and imposing, whispered, "This human, he stands where no one has before." Another added almost incredulously, "He is untrained in court politics, yet the queen trusts him." I realized then that the quietest figures, those who blend into shadows, unnoticed, often hold the power to shift outcomes. I had been trained to observe, to guard, to survive, and now, without my intention, I was a symbol. The queen extended her hand fully and the chamber grew still. "Observe this carefully," she said. "Let this moment remind all of you the galaxy is not governed solely by status, nor by titles, nor by fear. Sometimes it is shaped by quiet determination and unassuming presence." For a fraction of a second, the entire hall was silent. No whispers, no gasps, only the hum of crystal energy. I remained standing, upright, ready, human. The queen's eyes softened just enough that her imperious aura became almost protective. And then, just as suddenly, she withdrew her hand and turned. The slow, deliberate steps echoed through the chamber once more as she took her seat at the dais. The court remained frozen. Some representatives whispered feverishly, recalculating their alliances, their assumptions about humans, and their expectations of power. I returned to my post at the back of the hall, armor polished, rifle at ready, but now carrying an invisible weight, recognition, responsibility, and a moment that would be remembered long after the echoes of crystal footsteps faded. The proud alien queen had noticed a quiet human guard. The court had not been ready. And yet, history had just been written silently in the space between one heartbeat and the next. For the first time, I understood. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. And sometimes it is enough to make an end. The proud alien queen had returned to her dais, regal and unshaken. The court, however, was anything but composed. Murmurs rippled like shockwaves across the chamber. Did she just acknowledge a human? A tall, winged diplomat whispered. "Impossible, that species is insignificant," hissed another. I remained at my post, rifle polished, stance steady. But my mind was alert, every eye in the room still flicking toward me, measuring, judging, calculating. A holographic panel lit up near the center of the hall. The Grand Chancellor of the Council stood, projecting his aura across the room. "Representatives," he began, voice booming, "we have witnessed an unprecedented event. The Queen has singled out a human guard, a silent, unknown figure. How shall we interpret this?" The chamber erupted. Some shouted arguments, others whispered in disbelief. "This is absurd. A human, a guard, influencing court protocol. They may be trying to manipulate the Queen. No, look at his posture, the calm, the quiet strength. This is intentional." Sierra, a nearby alien noble, leaned toward me and murmured, "Do you understand what you've done?" I shook my head slightly. No, I just stood still. The Queen's gaze swept across the room again, briefly landing on me. Her eyes, commanding yet subtly approving, silenced even the loudest whispers. "Observe this carefully," she said, her voice carrying an authority that overpowered the chamber. "This human guard represents something greater than titles or rank. He represents resolve." Council representatives were stunned into silence. Some calculated, some fumed, some began murmuring in respect. A veteran alien diplomat leaned toward his neighbor. "If the Queen values a human in this manner, perhaps we have underestimated their species entirely." I noticed the court's energy shift. Tension replaced with curiosity, suspicion replaced with cautious respect. For the first time, I realized my presence, nothing more than a guard, had altered the perception of hundreds of species simultaneously. The Queen's voice softened ever so slightly. "Let all who doubt the humans remember this moment. Quiet vigilance and unwavering presence can hold more weight than armies or fleets." As she resumed her composure, the council slowly regained its protocols. Representatives whispered, debated, and recalculated. Alliances, voting patterns, and even future treaties were now in question. I returned to my post at the back of the chamber, shoulders straight, heart steady. But I knew my life had changed. Not by rank, not by strength, not by weapons, but by standing still, by being noticed, by carrying nothing but presence. And somewhere deep inside, I understood the truth of what the Queen had shown. Sometimes the quietest person in the hall carries the heaviest impact. The court had recovered its composure, but only barely. Whispers had turned into murmurs, murmurs into heated debates. The crystal halls of the galactic court were alive with tension, the air charged like an iron storm. Every representative had a stake in this. Every species was calculating. At the back of the hall I remained standing, armor polished, rifle by my side, hands relaxed but ready. I felt the weight of 1,000 alien eyes on me, some curious, some hostile, some skeptical. But the most important gaze was still on me, the proud alien queen. "Your silence is remarkable," the Queen said, her voice ringing through the chamber. Calm, commanding, yet undeniably piercing. I nodded once curtly, no words. That was enough. A delegate from the Harkin Dominion, tall with translucent skin and silver veins running along his arms, finally spoke. His voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. Your Majesty, may I ask why a human guard, a species notorious for its primitive diplomacy and impulsive aggression, is granted this level of notice? It is unprecedented. The Queen's eyes flicked to him, calm, sharp, deadly. Because he has proven a quality that many of you have not, presence, she replied. Her voice resonated, echoing against the crystal walls. He stands where he is placed, he observes, he does not falter. And in that stillness, he carries more weight than armies or fleets. The hearkened delegate scoffed, leaning forward. A guard? You would elevate a soldier above counselors and ambassadors. This undermines centuries of protocol. I stepped forward. The murmurs of the court intensified. Humans rarely spoke in these chambers, especially guards. But I had learned to act decisively when action mattered. Respectfully, I said, my voice steady, echoing in the high halls, I do not seek to undermine protocol. I do not seek to impress. I only stand ready to do what is required, nothing more, nothing less. The room went silent. Even those who had opposed the Queen's notice paused. A human speaking in the court was rare, and one that did so with clarity and calm, without arrogance, commanded attention. The Queen's lips curved slightly, a subtle, approving smile. You see, she said, her voice soft but carrying across the room. Some of you are so obsessed with rank and titles that you forget the simplest truth. Courage and focus are more valuable than ceremony. Observe this human and learn. A representative from the Veyland Syndicate, a lithe creature with glowing eyes and multi-jointed limbs, hissed. This is dangerous. By singling out a human, you risk inflaming their pride. Humans are volatile, impulsive. If they are given recognition here, they may act beyond your control. The Queen's gaze swept across the room, sweeping over me once more. And yet, she said, they are precisely the ones who can act when others hesitate. They can carry what others cannot. They can hold the line when others would crumble. Another wave of murmurs rippled through the council. Some began to nod. Others whispered urgently, recalculating votes, strategies, alliances. My role in this chamber, my mere presence, was already shifting political outcomes. The hearkened delegate leaned forward again, voice low and dangerous. Your Majesty, if this human guard becomes central to your decisions, what precedent does that set? Today it is a guard. Tomorrow it could be an entire human contingent wielding influence. The Queen's eyes narrowed, calm, precise. And if it is, she asked softly, would you prefer that those with no courage, no focus, and no resolve continue to wield influence instead? Or would you rather recognize merit where it exists, even if it comes in an unexpected form? The chamber fell silent again. The weight of her question was immense. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably. Many glanced at me. All realized that this was no ceremonial speech. This was a challenge, a test, a statement of principle. I remained still. I did not bow. I did not speak further. My silence, as much as my words, was now part of the statement. The Queen leaned slightly forward, hand resting lightly on the crystal podium before her. History will remember those who stood still when others trembled. And some of you, she said, her gaze sweeping the dissenters, would do well to pay attention. A young diplomat from the Zorinthian League finally broke the tension. Perhaps there is merit in this human's conduct. Perhaps we have underestimated what quiet vigilance can accomplish. The murmurs shifted, supporters nodded, opposition frowned, recalculating. The court was now a chessboard, and the Queen had moved a piece none had expected. From the back, I could feel the tension and the curiosity weighing on me. I had not intended to wield influence. I had only intended to stand where I was placed, silent, attentive, ready. Yet here my simple adherence to duty had become a symbol. The Queen's voice carried one final time, ringing clear and unwavering. Let all of you remember this day. Observe closely the quiet, respect the unseen, and recognize that sometimes those who carry the least in appearance bear the most in substance. As she returned to her seat, the court gradually resumed its usual functions. But the atmosphere had shifted irreversibly. Whispers of strategy and debate now carried a new undertone, respect for the human guard. I returned to my post at the rear of the chamber, armor polished, rifle at ready, standing still, watching. But now I knew I had changed something fundamental. The proud alien queen had noticed me, and by extension, the court, the galaxy itself, had begun to see humans differently. Even as I stood silently, representatives stole glances at me, some in awe, some in disbelief, some plotting how this change could be leveraged. I had not moved. I had not spoken beyond necessity. And yet influence, subtle, undeniable, and historic, had begun to ripple outward. The Queen's gaze met mine once more, and for a fleeting moment, a quiet acknowledgement passed between us. Not a bond of friendship nor of politics, but a recognition of principle. Strength is not always loud. Influence is not always obvious, and sometimes the quietest presence is enough to alter the course of history. And in the shadows of the crystal halls, one quiet human guard stood, ready, vigilant, unnoticed by some, yet seen by the one whose approval mattered most. The court had been challenged. The court had been changed. And history had just been quietly rewritten. The murmurs had grown into whispers, whispers into urgent conversations, and now the court was restless. The proud alien queen had returned to her dais, regal and unshaken, yet the ripple of her attention toward a single human guard had shaken centuries of protocol. From the far end of the chamber, a contingent of the Varkin syndicate, notorious for scheming and political manipulation, stood. Their spindly limbs clicked against the crystal floor, the alien equivalent of a challenge. They had been watching, waiting, calculating. "This is dangerous," their lead representative hissed. "The Queen's favor is now invested in a human. If we allow this precedent, the entire balance of power shifts, and we will not allow it." The Queen's gaze flicked toward them, calm, controlled, unyielding. "You underestimate the quiet," she said softly, her voice carrying through the entire chamber. "Do you wish to test this human's resolve?" All eyes now turned to me. I was still at the back of the hall, standing silent, armor gleaming under the crystal light. I had been trained for conflict, not diplomacy, not debate, not manipulation. But training had taught me one thing: act decisively when it matters most. The Varkin representative moved forward, voice sharp, echoing across the hall. "Human, step forward and explain why the Queen's attention upon you should not be considered an affront to the Council's authority." All heads turned. A human guard had been challenged directly in the galactic court. Silence fell heavy and oppressive. The crystal walls seemed to amplify every heartbeat. I stepped forward, not out of defiance, not out of ambition, but out of necessity. My posture remained upright, my eyes forward. The hall was silent, save for the soft hum of the energy systems embedded in the walls. "Respectfully," I said, voice steady, unwavering, "I do not claim the Queen's attention. I do not seek to undermine the Council. I only stand where I am placed, ready to act if action is required." Murmurs spread. Some representatives gasped. Others leaned forward, studying every nuance of my presence. The Varkin delegation shifted uneasily. Humans rarely spoke in court, and even more rarely with this kind of clarity and confidence. The Queen's gaze softened, a faint curve of her lips acknowledging my stance. "Do you see?" she said, her voice ringing clear. "Presence is not measured in words alone. Resolve is not proven by ceremony. Observe this human, observe the stillness, recognize the weight it carries." The Varkin representative sneered, but their voice lacked conviction. "And if this human fails, what then?" I met their eyes, calm, steady, resolute. "Then I will have done my duty, and the Queen will decide the outcome, not me. But until then, I stand ready." The Queen's aura seemed to grow, her authority radiating through the chamber. He does not falter, he does not yield, and that is why his presence carries more than fear, more than protocol, more than titles. Another wave of murmurs rippled through the council. Supporters of the Queen nodded subtly, realizing the wisdom of her choice. Opponents whispered urgently, recalculating strategies, alliances, and votes. The human guard had become a pivot point in political calculations, not by action but by quiet determination. The Varkin syndicate attempted a final maneuver, a coordinated flurry of objections and procedural challenges, but the Queen's voice cut through like a blade. "Silence, the Council will recognize the merit of courage where it exists. And today, courage stands before you quiet, steadfast, unassuming. You may dislike it, you may fear it, but it is undeniable." For a long moment, the hall was frozen. Then the whispers began to shift. Discussion became careful, debate tempered by observation. The message was clear. The quiet human guard had altered the court's dynamics. I returned to my post at the back of the chamber, rifle by my side, armor polished. Standing still had become an act of influence. Observing had become a statement. Presence had become power. The Queen looked down at me from her dais, and for a fleeting moment our eyes met. Recognition passed silently between us. Not of friendship, not of loyalty, not of political allegiance, but of principle. One human, standing still, had commanded respect in a room built to house the most cunning, calculating minds in the galaxy. And then the first shift came. A delegate from the Zorinthian League whispered to their neighbor, "Perhaps we have underestimated humans entirely." Another from the Elisiarchs nodded in agreement. Quiet vigilance, they have merit. The court's energy shifted again. The Varkin Syndicate's members muttered amongst themselves, recalculating their approach. Their scheming had failed for now. The lesson was clear. Quiet determination could disrupt centuries of expectation. The Queen raised her hand once more, signaling for calm. "Let this chamber remember today," she said. "Let it remember that strength is not always loud. That courage does not always roar. Sometimes the greatest influence is wielded in silence, with readiness, with unwavering focus. And some of you would do well to observe before speaking." All eyes flicked back to me. I remained at attention. Silent, watching, standing. A human unremarkable to most, but now the center of the chamber's focus, the fulcrum on which political calculations teetered. The Queen's hand lowered, murmurs subsided. The council resumed its activities, but a new understanding had taken root. The human guard had become a symbol, not a diplomat, not a warrior in the traditional sense, not a negotiator, but a standard-bearer for presence, readiness, and courage. Even as I returned to my post, I realized that my life had changed. The court, the galaxy, had begun to see humans differently. They had seen that quiet vigilance, resolve, and steadfastness could alter outcomes without a single weapon being fired. And as the proud alien queen observed the council, her gaze soft yet unwavering, I understood the final truth. Sometimes the quietest presence can shake the foundations of power itself. One human guard, one alien queen, one court that was not ready for the moment, yet had witnessed history being quietly rewritten. Murmurs from the previous confrontation had not faded. They had grown into calculated discussions, whispers turned into strategy sessions, and debates into quiet acknowledgement. The proud alien queen had returned to her dais, regal and unshaken, yet the chamber had already felt the tremor of her actions. At the back of the hall, I stood silently, observing. Armor polished, rifle at my side, posture unwavering. Every eye in the room still flicked toward me, measuring, curious, cautious, hesitant. The weight of centuries of tradition and political calculation now pressed down upon me, but I remained still as I always did. The Queen's voice rang through the hall again. "Counselors," she said, her tone both commanding and calm, "observe carefully. Not all influence is loud, not all courage wears armor adorned with medals. Sometimes it stands quietly waiting ready, and it changes everything." A ripple of realization passed through the chamber. Some representatives straightened, heads nodding. Others whispered urgently, recalculating alliances. The room had become a chessboard, and the Queen had moved a piece none had expected. From the far end, the previously dissenting Harkin delegate cleared his throat. "Perhaps there is merit in this human guard's conduct," he said cautiously. "Perhaps we have underestimated the value of quiet vigilance." The murmurs grew into nods of agreement. The Zorinthian League, the Elisiarchs, and even some of the Valan Syndicate representatives exchanged glances. Conversations that had been tense and hostile moments ago now carried a new undertone, respect. The Queen's gaze found mine again. "Stand forward," she commanded softly. "Recognition is not given lightly, and today it is earned. Observe, counselors. Learn that merit comes in many forms." I stepped forward, each footfall echoing through the crystal hall. The chamber seemed impossibly vast, yet each sound reverberated, a pulse in time with the hearts of every observer. "You," the Queen said, gesturing toward me, "have demonstrated a principle too often forgotten: vigilance, readiness, calm amidst chaos. You have carried more than yourself. You have carried the weight of witness, of observation, of moral duty, and that is worth recognition." The hall fell silent. Hundreds of beings had heard the declaration. Hundreds more absorbed it, calculating its implications. A guard. A human, recognized by the most powerful figure in the galaxy. And yet it was not mere favor, it was acknowledgement of principle. A soft voice from the council's corner whispered, "This is unprecedented. No human has ever been recognized in such a manner, and by the Queen herself." Even the Varkin Syndicate shifted uneasily. Their objections, their scheming, now seemed petty against the backdrop of undeniable proof. The human guard, me, was no longer an observer. I had become a pivot in the council's perception of humanity. The Queen continued, her voice calm, carrying authority without arrogance. "Let it be known that courage is not measured in ranks or titles. Strength is not defined by fleets or armies. Influence is earned through readiness, presence, and the willingness to act when required. Let all here recognize that even the quietest figure, when steadfast, may shape outcomes that reverberate across the galaxy." A delegate from the Zorinthian League nodded subtly. Indeed. Let it be recorded that the human presence has altered proceedings today. A reminder that assumptions must never replace observation. The chamber slowly returned to its rhythm, but with a new understanding. Strategies were recalculated, alliances reconsidered, and votes quietly influenced by what they had witnessed. The human guard had become a symbol, a living demonstration that even the unassuming could carry immense weight. The Queen's gaze rested on me once more, a faint curve of approval on her lips. She had shown the Council that merit and courage could take forms that defied expectation. And she had done it through one quiet human standing silently, ready to act and unwavering in purpose. From the back of the hall, I watched as subtle shifts began to occur. Allies formed quietly. Counselors who had doubted now exchanged discreet nods, acknowledging not only the Queen's wisdom, but the undeniable presence of the human standing before them. The balance of power had shifted, imperceptibly yet irrevocably. Outside the chamber, across the galaxy, news of the council session began to spread. Holographic feeds, encrypted messages, and whispers among diplomatic channels carried the story. A human guard recognized by the proud alien queen. Quiet, steadfast, influential, speculation erupted. Political analysts debated the implications. Military commanders adjusted strategies. Civilians, particularly human colonies, whispered with pride. One human had stood, and in doing so, the perception of an entire species began to shift. Back in the chamber, I returned to my post, standing at attention. The Queen's presence still commanded the room, but now I felt an unspoken bond, a recognition of principle rather than of politics. In the quiet of my stance, I understood that influence could be wielded without a single word, and that the impact of standing still, observing, and remaining ready could ripple across nations, systems, and stars. The Council had witnessed it. The Queen had demonstrated it, and I, a simple human guard, had embodied it. As the chamber gradually resumed its usual proceedings, I remained vigilant. My role had not changed, guard, observer, protector, but the perception of humanity had. Quiet determination, steadfastness, and calm in the face of scrutiny had proven that humans could influence more than anyone had expected. The proud alien queen had noticed, the court had witnessed, and the ripple had begun, an impact that would carry through policy, alliances, and the subtle shifts of power for cycles to come. One human guard, one proud alien queen, one council forever changed. And in the quiet aftermath, I realized, sometimes the smallest presence could carry the heaviest weight. The smallest presence could carry the heaviest weight.